Later on, Al Sharpton weighs in on the Joe Rogan N-word controversy. I was interviewed by a local CBS reporter up in, I think, San Francisco this morning. Maybe a 10, 12-minute interview. And he asked me what I thought about this. And I talked about the inconsistencies. I talked about people like Barack Obama using the N-word in his book, The Dream from My Father. I talked about how Mel Brooks used the word in the very funny movie Blazing Saddles, and the butt of the joke were the white racists. Quentin Tarantino uses it in his movies, and generally speaking, Samuel Jackson is the smartest guy in the room, that comedians use it, rappers use it. And that I was at a mall once, I told you this story, and it's a mall in a predominantly white suburb. Most of the patrons in the mall were white. There were 4 or 5 black kids, I want to say 10, 11, 12 years old, and one of them was running ahead of the other one, and one of them yelled out, "Hey, N-word, wait up." And that was cringeworthy. My father hated the people using that term around him. And I told you at the time I was working out in a fitness center, and music is on. And N-word this, N-word that, rap song, N-word this, N-word that. Everybody's just lifting weights. Most of the people in the fitness center were white. I went up to the lady at the desk who was white. And I said, "Do I have to listen to this?" She said, "Listen to what?" I said, "Listen to this." She said, "Listen to what?" I point to the speaker. I said, "Listen to that." And as I was saying in a volley of N-word this, N-word, oh my God, she took it off. Richard Pryor made a living out of using the N-word. Dave Chappelle uses it. Predominantly white audience. Everybody's laughing. It depends on the context. It depends on the intent. And I don't believe that Joe Rogan should have groveled and should have apologized the way he did, for crying out loud. And how about Kanye West at a concert, a Lollapalooza concert, telling people that he's given them temporary permission to use the N-word because it rhymes with his song Gold Digger. The whole thing is a farce. And the idea that this is somehow Joe Rogan, the compilation of him using the N-word somehow is some sort of attack on black people, when black people have higher self-esteem than white people. And for Rogan to apologize and say it should never be used by a white person, no matter the context, no matter the intent. Really? Really? Blazing Saddles should never have been made? Ridiculous. And I said to the reporter, out of all the things you and I could be talking about that are stressing this country, 130,000 troops on the border of Ukraine, inflation at a 40-year high, 2 million people attempted to enter the country illegally in the last year under the Biden administration's policies. Iran this close to getting a nuke. Russians becoming more aggressive. China becoming more aggressive. And before my campaign in California, 75% of black boys in California, I told the reporter, could not read at state levels of proficiency, and those levels are high. Math scores even worse. Half of all third graders in California cannot read at state levels of proficiency. Math scores even worse. 25% of the abortions in this country performed on black females. Half of the homicide victims, I told him, in this country are blacks, mostly males, mostly killed by other young black males. A young black male 8 times more likely to be murdered, I told him, than a young white male. Number one cause of preventable death for young whites is accidents like car accidents or drownings, whereas the number one cause of death, preventable or not, for young black men is homicide, and again, almost always at the hands of another young black man. Crime up 40%, shootings and homicides in LA where I am, and almost all of the victims of that increased crime are black and brown. 25% of young black men have criminal records, largely because of being raised in fatherless homes. And you ask me about Joe Rogan using the N-word? It's a joke. It really is. There's nothing else we can talk about, nothing else you think is more relevant, nothing else you think is more important. I don't think that's what he expected to hear, but that's what he heard.